Chapter 12. Siddle, why are you only telling me this now? She looked at her father angrily, telling herself to calm down. What happened next? Kelson didn't want to tell her daughter such bloody things, but Siddle was so angry that her jaw was bulging, her small, white face was wrinkled like a torn cloth, so cute that it melted, she couldn't hide it and told everything. After that, he put his wife and children in the warehouse, and he swallowed a knife and committed suicide. He was only discovered early the following spring. Siddle. So you knew about this? She said affirmatively. Siddle stared at her old father in silence. Old Father Kelson didn't know why his daughter looked at him with such eyes, but he felt guilty. He touched his nose, trying to reduce his shame. It's not that important, I'm afraid of disturbing your good mood. Not important, Siddle looked at Kelson, confirming again. Is it really the warehouse? Is there a scene report? Kelson recalled and shook his head. This incident will affect the hotel's guest count, it can't be spread out. Besides, the body has been dead for a season, of course nothing can be seen. I heard that the body was really stuffed into the West warehouse, but the murder scene was in the hotel, and the specific location is unknown. Ray pinched Kelson's thigh, resentfully glaring at him. We're eating now, why are you talking about these things in front of children? She looked at Siddle, because the assistant manager asked the hotel staff, but they all said it wasn't theirs. Your father and I thought that maybe the package was sent to our family. But Siddle was right, I will pay more attention in the future. Your father and Mr. Barnard will arrange to investigate that wooden puppet. If it is someone else's item, we will send it back. There is no need to investigate anymore. Siddle slowly swallowed the last bite of rice, and said sadly, it's too late. That wooden puppet originally had no specific recipient. It was probably bad luck for whoever brought it home. If Siddle was the first to discover it, she would never look at this item of unknown origin again, and would tell someone to throw it away. It would be best to drive it away. But now Billy had entered her house. Besides, she had also agreed with the twins, who had been killed by their father in room 237 a few years ago, that she would give Billy and Annabelle to them. Just thinking about the twins gave Siddle a headache. She asked Kelson, I really don't want to stay here, I swear, this place is absolutely not normal. Can we move out tonight? Like Uncle Haroon. Siddle didn't want to hurt her father's good intentions and comfort her, but this hotel gave her a very strange feeling. In short, everything was not good. Not only did she receive the creepy wooden puppet, meet the strange twins, and that absolutely inaccessible room. She also had a bad feeling. If she stayed here, something scary would definitely happen. As expected, her parents refused her request. Kelson looked at her daughter awkwardly. Sorry, honey. It's too late now, it's not safe to leave this mountain now. Siddle, tomorrow I'll go into the mountain to help people clean up their house, Ray said. Do you want to go with me? Breathing the fresh mountain air might make you feel better. When we have free time, we can also play hide and seek in the maze. Siddle was shocked. Whose house is it? I don't know who the owner is, I only know that he's a relative of the gas station employee, Ray said. That house has been empty for a long time. He asked us to help him clean it up so that his relatives can come back to live in that house the day after tomorrow. I'll go with you. Siddle was silent for a long time, then sighed and accepted Ray's invitation. Although it didn't seem like a good thing, she thought to herself. Dad, she suddenly called Kelson over, her heart filled with a strange feeling of emotion. Can you promise that you won't harm me and Mom? She trotted up to Kelson, seriously raising her head, her eyes like deep blue water looking at him intently, forever. Kelson was stunned. Of course I can promise. Honey, why are you asking such a strange question? No. Siddle blinked gently, her long black eyelashes curved like beautiful butterfly wings resting on the surface of a calm blue lake. She didn't explain again and just replied, nothing. Siddle closed her eyes, not knowing why she had to ask such a question. It just suddenly appeared in her mind. It was like a voice kept ringing in her ears. After finishing dinner, Siddle didn't return to her room right away. She still had one thing left to do, which was to give Billy and Annabelle to the twin sisters. She asked her parents for permission and tried her best to hug the two dolls that were the same size as herself and walked out the door. Although it was a bit old-fashioned, at this moment she remembered a nursery rhyme from her hometown. A chicken in the left hand, a duck in the right hand. She shook her head, trying to get that brainwashing melody out of her head, but failed miserably. Siddle. Forget it. She resignedly opened the door. Although she was sober, she still felt like she was really holding a chicken in her left hand and a duck in her right hand, preparing to greet her future neighbor to increase their affection. Of course, that neighbor was not a good person either. In the living room, Ray looked at her husband worriedly. Should we get a psychiatrist for Siddle? Maybe, Kelson frowned, troubled by what he was thinking. Do you believe her? Ray was silent for a moment and then asked, about her seeing the twins. Siddle couldn't have known about this news. Kelson raised his head and looked straight into Ray's blue eyes. She didn't have a chance to talk to the hotel staff. They wouldn't tell a child about this either. The news that the hotel manager had killed his wife and children and then committed suicide, and that the murdered children were twins. Moreover, he smiled bitterly. Don't you think the question Siddle asked me is too strange? I've never treated you and Siddle badly before. I've never even yelled at you. That's right. Ray looked at him intently. You're a good husband and a good father. Kelson never brought his worries from work home. He was always a gentle and elegant person at home. So, don't you think Siddle is too unusual? He asked Ray. Even if Siddle is a precocious child, she wouldn't think that you would harm her and her mother under a situation where she has never been physically or mentally affected. Oh my God, this is crazy. Kelson muttered, holding his head, unable to imagine what it would be like to harm Ray or Siddle. Ray sighed softly, placing her hand on her husband's hand, wanting to comfort Kelson. Don't worry too much, she said. I know you've always wanted to give Siddle and me the best living conditions. I think you've done a great job. Don't you have any worries? Kelson raised his head and asked again. To tell the truth, Ray was silent for a moment. Before tonight, I didn't have any. I've always thought this was the best place for a summer vacation. If there really was a murder here, I think. The woman hesitated, a hint of unease flashing in her deep blue eyes. You can ask Siddle for advice. I just don't want your good intentions to go to waste. Kelson understood. The man hesitated for a long time, and said, I'll talk to her tomorrow. If this place makes Siddle feel uneasy, I think I'll contact my uncle, and let him find another manager. Sorry, Ray looked at Kelson's serious expression, and couldn't help but laugh. Maybe after we go down the mountain, you should also make an appointment with a psychologist. For Siddle. She threw herself into Kelson's arms, adding the following sentence. At this moment, Siddle was standing in the hotel corridor. Absent-minded. There were originally quite a few families on the second floor, but now there was not a single one in sight. She remembered the hallway when she first met the twin sisters. Although the decorations in the hallway and room had not changed, Siddle was clearly aware of one thing: this was no ordinary hotel during the day. But once she went out, there was no going back. Siddle hugged the two dolls tightly, slowly walking down the narrow hallway covered with gray carpet. As she walked, she felt that the design of this hotel was unreasonable. On both sides of the corridor were 2 rows of ivory wooden doors. The white walls were covered with light purple wallpaper, creating an overall warm and elegant atmosphere. But the structure of the corridor was messy, with a turn every 7 or 8 meters. Siddle had the illusion of walking in a maze. She went around and around, and very quickly found the room that she couldn't enter no matter what. Room 237. The wooden puppet Billy and the doll Annabelle in her heart were as quiet as rice. This room was no different from the rest. Ivory wooden doors on white walls, light purple wallpaper. Siddle raised her head to look for a while, quietly placing the 2 dolls tied together in front of the door. Unable to enter the room. Surely the twins could still receive the gifts left here, right? She brushed her hands in satisfaction, and was about to turn around and leave when the door to room 237 creaked open. Siddle was startled, and before she could turn around and run away, she felt something from behind push her. Siddle! Exclamation point. Before she could regret that she shouldn't have walked alone at night like this, she was pushed inside. The scene behind the door left Siddle dumbfounded. The scene before her eyes couldn't be said to be exactly like what she had imagined, but rather unrelated. There was no blood, nothing terrifying, no evil spirits, and not even any strange objects in room 237. Nothing that shouldn't have appeared in a normal hotel room. Just a normal clean room. The bed was clean and tidy, the table and cupboard were brand new, the curtains were closed. Everything was very obvious, just like any other room. Is that all? Siddle didn't stay in the room for long. After standing firm, she turned around and left room 237 without hesitation. She threw Billy and Annabelle in and slammed the door shut. But she confirmed that no one had opened the door to room 237. There was no one behind her either. Siddle didn't want to think about what kind of toy had pushed her in. Although there was nothing unusual about room 237, she still felt that she shouldn't stay here for long. She didn't look back at room 237 anymore and hurriedly left. After successfully returning to her room, she let out a sigh of relief. Maybe I should sleep with my parents tonight. She thought so and didn't notice a pair of dark blue eyes flashing in the darkness.